See, Lore's really a nice guy. Who doesn't love cats, right? The most villainous evil character in the world, you just show them a cat and then they're nice guys all of a sudden. Isn't it wonderful how that works? Disengage, Imposters, Dominion, Surrender, the latest episode, title, in a long series of one-word titles. What does it mean to surrender? Are we giving up? Are we just going to let Vadic win? We're going to find out in this episode. The 8th episode. The episode before the penultimate episode. Does that make this the penultimate episode? Does that make sense? This is like the eve of the final episode, but the eve of the final episode. We got 2 more after this, and let me tell you, we got a lot of questions to answer. We've built up one heck of a mystery box, as it were, this season, and we better solve it. People who have seen it early said that it does answer these questions, but I'm starting to have my doubts. How are we supposed to explain after this episode and the contents therein? Who is Jack? Is that really the end of Vadic? What do the changelings really want? I wish I could say this episode answered more questions, but this episode was more of a, we'll say, touchstone to end off plot threads that have been introduced in the past few episodes. Like I suspected before, the first 4 episodes are like their own mini arc. We have the Righton arc in the Righton system / Nebula. And then we just ended off on episode 8, 4 episodes of what I call the Daystrom arc. Essentially, each arc has its own goals, its own scenarios, its own themes. And I think that was a very good way to go, taking a page out of the last season of Enterprise. We're not really in one big movie. We're kind of like in perhaps 3 movies in the same franchise, okay? I think that's much better than just sitting through a 10-hour-long movie. We're sitting through 3 multiple-hour-long movies. I think that's better. What do you think? But that's more than enough messing around and more than enough surface-level observations. Let's get down under the surface of Surrender and see what's making it tick and what really is the surrender, where this episode gets its title. Like I said, we're nearing the end, but this is a quote-unquote sequel to the last episode, and that we are still dead in the water, essentially. Vadic is in control. The first shot has Vadic smoking a cigar on the bridge. That's a fire hazard. Later on, she puts the smoke out on the bridge, and I was so angry. I just want to throttle her. Very good. This is a villain. You want to hate them. You want to love to hate them. And I hated putting a cigar out on the floor of the bridge. That shiny, slippery bridge floor. Oh. Right in the kisser. But she's a changeling, and my hand would probably go right through her. Right? That's how changelings work, right? Anyway, how are we going to get Jack up to the bridge? Vadic's plan. The long, drawn-out plan. This episode was 50-some minutes long, but I'll be damned if I wasn't left wanting some more. They managed to take 50 minutes to do not that much, ultimately. Vadic has our bridge crew and a few other people lined up on the bridge. I'm going to kill them one by one until you guys let Jack come up. I've taken your eyes. I've taken your ears. I've taken the floor on which you walk. Something like that. Essentially what this means is he's turned off the lights, turned off the communications, and locked people out. That is, closed doors to make it so you can't get around, can't group together, can't communicate. A very key thing when you're keeping people imprisoned is to separate them, right? You don't want any groups of people getting any big ideas. Now, would you? We're going to kill somebody until Jack comes up. So I'm going to leave it to you guys to come up and decide collectively who we're going to sacrifice, okay? We're going to sacrifice somebody on the bridge. I'm going to start killing them. Or you're going to sacrifice Jack. Your pick. I like that about Vadic, giving us options. Thanks, Vadic. Meanwhile, we've just now unplugged Lore. Lore was wreaking havoc on the ship because he loves the chaos. And There we go. I'll unplug him now. How much time has gone between this episode and the last one? He should have been unplugged a long time ago. I don't know. It just felt slow to me. I don't know how much time goes on between these episodes. But all the shenanigans going on in the ship. Geordi, how can Lore keep doing this? We unplugged him. It's not Lore, it's Vatic. Womp womp womp. Just now, Jack takes the time to tell his parents, the people who should be closest to them, who he should trust in the most. Jack's situation's a little different, but he decides to tell them now, hey guys, I can kind of read people's minds, and I can kind of control them with my mind. Really? Thanks for telling us, Jack. How long have you been able to do this? How many people are you complicit in killing because you didn't help them? By the way, he did try to take over the mind of another officer in another room. That officer ends up getting killed. Did Jack just kill him? Jack, are you responsible for that? You were controlling his body. You made him walk in front of one of those changeling guys, and he got shot. Jack, do you feel bad about that? I'm reading a little bit too much into it. He was probably going to die anyway, that officer. That's a horrible thing to say. But if I were Jack, I would be pretty devastated that, number one, I have experienced firsthand dying as I was controlling that person. And number two, I may have just gotten him killed. But Jack is psychic. We all know it now. The cat's out of the bag. Spot's out of the bag, as it were. And Sydney is right there listening. And finally, at the end, she chimes in and corroborates the story. He was inside my mind. He can control people's minds. Okay, Jack, why don't you control my mind now? I'm Picard. Make me do something. No, I'd rather just control someone on the bridge, where you can't see it happening. Just believe me. Okay, we just believe him. And his idea, I guess, he has an idea to retake the whole ship. Wow, what a hero. What a guy. He has all access to all these strange, unknown tech. He breaks out of the brig on the ship. He almost transports himself off the ship. He just has the run of the place. What can I say? He's Jack Crusher. He's special. He's a superhero. He controls one of the officers in the officer lineup. What I call the officer lineup. Vatic has spent the last few hours putting together the officer lineup, and he controls one that just happens to be close enough to a console where he can actually control his mind and press buttons on this console. Okay? Come on. How would Vatic or one of her officers not see this? It's obvious. The whole... Vatic, someone's touching the console. Give me a break. I mean, I buy the fact that high-level officers like captains and admirals would have override codes, right? We've seen that before in Star Trek. Captains and admirals and the like can override basically anything because we've taken it for granted that their opinion on the matter supersedes that would otherwise be engaged automatically by the ship or by low-level crew. I'm willing to accept that. He puts in Picard's override. Say it with me, guys. Codex. Not override code. Override codex. Did the writers think that a code was the same as a codex? They're not the same thing. Codex felt more accurately used early on this season, but now codex is used in place of just a code. It's not a codex, it's a code, as in a series of numbers. So this is relayed to Jack, which Jack relays telepathically to Mura, his psychically controlled character on the bridge. Mura types in, boop, 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 and they have control of the ship again. Sorry, Vatic, you weren't really paying attention. I know you're a changeling, and you could basically, in a split second, turn into a flying saw blade and cut Mura into a million pieces. In a split second. But you weren't that fast. You weren't that aware. It looks like you didn't have eyes in the back of your head. Which you could. You could have actually grown eyes in the back of your head, but you didn't. Methinks the writers of this show invented the evolved physiology changelings, not to make them stronger, but to make them weaker. They couldn't figure out how the crew of the Titan could actually defeat changelings unless we made them weaker. And we made them a lot weaker. The only saving grace is that these aren't the changelings we know from, say, Deep Space Nine. So we can kind of give in to the delusion that you would be able to actually defeat them. If these were like Deep Space Nine changelings, we'd be dead in the first episode. There'd be nothing we could do. But these changelings, in their evolved physiology, I would say devolved, degenerated, or worse physiology, they've traded... they seem to have traded split-second changing, high fidelity, high dexterity changing. They've traded infinitely long lifespans to fool transporters for being able to pass the bleeding test. Is that really worth it? Really? We can't bleed someone out to check out the air anymore, but now they're super weak and we can just essentially beat them in hand-to-hand combat. I don't know. I know it was given to them against their will. I know it was kind of given to them by, I'm going to say, Section 31. But I think one of the major points of contention about this season moving forward in the future is going to continue to be what was up with the changelings. This season is going to be Picard, Season 3, : what was up with the changelings? Like, I know they're different, but why are they, like, weaker? Like, why did we do that? I know why the writers did that, but in universe, why would we see that? Like, why would that be happening? And the characters have to keep reiterating, no, these changelings are better. Wow. No, they ain't. We can just kind of punch them. If you threw a rock at Odo, an older style changeling, and he was looking the other way, the rock would just go right through him. Like, you wouldn't be able to do anything. You wouldn't be able to interact with them. But these changelings are, like, semi-solid. They're kind of like half solid, half changeling. Very odd. But Vedic, as usual, with her performance, is saving it, I think. Unfortunately, in this episode, it ends rather unceremoniously. But Vedic doesn't get away without killing someone. We have our characters lined up in the bridge who we're going to kill. She points her phaser at Esmar, Kovarin Esmar. Matthew Murrah, thankfully, has been skipped over. And 3, 2, 1. Spoilers. Bam. We shoot Tavine, our Vulcan, on the bridge, if you would. I didn't see that coming. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought we were really going to kill Esmar. We see Esmar crying beforehand, which seems to indicate, wow, wouldn't it be dramatic to kill her? Guess what? We killed Tavine. Didn't see it coming. You got one on me there. You got one over on me, guys. Congrats. It would have been awful if they had killed Seven. Oh, man. If they killed Shaw, I would have been boycotting this show. But we end up killing Esmar. We have a strange conversation, again, between Shaw and Seven. When are we going to squash this bug? Like, we're still... Shaw and Seven are still at odds with each other. Leave that in the nebula. Leave that at Wrighton. I thought we solved this. We're still fighting with each other. Our first officer and our captain can't be at odds all the time. Like, if we get another show to this, another spin-off with these two characters on board, we better work that out, because this is not the kind of drama that you want in Star Trek, right? I can see, a little bit of, tension between characters, but this is, your first officer and your captain, it undermines faith in the command structure of the ship, and it calls into questions who's really in charge, which is never a good idea. You don't want that. Leave the tension between characters to the lower deckers. I think on the bridge we have no place for that, especially now in a death-defying situation. I told you to blow the turbo lift. I didn't want to take any more lives. Seven wouldn't do that. Seven would not hesitate to blow that turbo lift sky high. Normally, if Shaw demanded it, he did. He said to do it. They didn't do it. They lost control of the bridge, even though we all know there's multiple ways to get onto a bridge. I would still trust the captain and do as he said. But the fact of the matter is, we have the turbo lift. There's probably an emergency turbo lift. There's Jeffrey's tubes that will probably lead to the bridge. There's different access corridors. There's the hallway. You can get into the bridge through the hallway. Remember that episode earlier on where you can see Jack walk to the bridge like this through the hall, and the door was there and he couldn't get in because you're not Starfleet and this is official Starfleet business. Remember that? That was another way you could get onto the bridge. So, Shaw demanding to blow the turbolift, a little bit premature. It probably would not have killed Vedic. I'm just going to be honest. Vedic seems to be playing by different rules here. Her crew, they've been referred to as changelings, but I've seen multiple people watch this show and kind of hesitate to call them changelings. They hesitate. They don't really want to do it because they don't act like it. They don't feel like changelings. That's a big problem. Strictly speaking, they have been referred to as changelings, her crew members. They don't exhibit any signs of being a changeling, basically, to the point where people hesitate to call them changelings. So maybe it would kill Vedic's crew members, but there's no way it would kill Vedic, because Vedic is like more of a changeling. I don't know. I mean, even Riker at one point told one of Vedic's crew members, how much of that goo did they pour into you? What does that mean? Are these people former solids? Can Vedic turn solids into half changelings and give them some special powers? It would feel that way, but it also feels like the explanation of that is just missing. It was cut, it was too long, along with many other things in this episode. A lot of things happened in this episode that felt like they were lacking explanation, or there was a scene to explain it that was just cut for time. Cut for time in an episode that feels like it's wasting its time. Imagine that. Meanwhile, Data, we have to figure out how to get Data back online. Data/lore. Listen, we know we're going to die. Vedic's going to kill us. But here, we have this wild card. Lore's a wild card. Turn him back on. How can it be any worse than just being sure you're going to die? I would rather have a dangerous wild card that would probably kill me over certain death. So it's not that dumb of an idea. Somehow, Geordi and co. meet up with Picard and co. And they form their own little posse to turn back Data, but turn him back on. But at that moment, I was just, wait a minute. Did we not lock all the doors? Did these people just hack the door? I mean, you always see them do that in Star Trek, but it would have been cool to see Jack do it. Maybe that is something Jack could do. But they just kind of cut it out or didn't think of it, because their characters are all together now. Remember what I said earlier, divide and conquer? You want to keep your prisoners apart. You don't want them coming together. Happens many times in this episode. That's why I brought it up so early. So we're going to turn Lore back on. Oh no, it looks like Lore's winning, right? We take down the partition, we put up the partition. I don't know how computers work. Welcome to Voyager Technobabble. It doesn't matter because it's displayed in a way that even dummies can figure out. The red dot is Lore and the blue dots are Data. So we want them all to be blue, not all red. And we see a representation of what's going on inside Data's mind, if you will. Not unlike what we saw last season with Lower Decks, where we see Rutherford dealing with, I'll call it an alternate Rutherford to not spoil anything, in their mind space. You see the vast white plane of nothingness that represents the mind, the inner turmoil, the inner debate, the battle between your angels and your demons. You see, that's going on now with Data. Hard to really logically critique anything here because this takes place, if you will, outside the realm of logic. We're in the realm of emotion. We're in the realm of fantasy. We're in the realm of, reverie, as it were. Lore versus Data. Lore says, I have many conquests in my life. That is the measurement of a life. Data says, I have many memories. That is the only sensible measurement of the worth of a life, is your collective memories. That is the thematic core of this episode. Your memories. Your memories make you who you are. A concept we've seen last season in Prodigy. A lot of things in this episode, I guess, are just riffing on past themes that we explored recently in recent seasons of recent Trek, to use the word recent a million times in a row. You see, Data loves his memories. Lore loves his conquest. But a real human being, a real person that Data wishes he was, has a yin and yang to it, you know. There's a little bit of good in the bad and a little bit of bad in the good. And you need to have that mixture. You need to have the right balance. And Sung was right, because as Data dies and surrenders, as Picard says, that's where we get the title of this episode, Data surrenders, but not before allowing Lore to take on his memories. He gives Lore his pack of cards he was playing that represent his games of cards he used to play with his old crew members in the Enterprise back in the day. He gives him a little holographic display of Tasha Yar, a crew member from the Enterprise in TNG that we won't get into. But guess what? That little holographic device, it's still fully functional. I guess in his mind, after 30 some years, you can have that. Oh, and you can have this cat. Poor Spot. Little Spot. See, Lore's really a nice guy. Who doesn't love cats, right? The most villainous, evil character in the world. You just show them a cat and then they're nice guys all of a sudden. Isn't it wonderful how that works? Just to dunk on all you dog guys out there, you dog lovers, you incorrigible twits. Welcome to cat lovers. We can turn Lore into a good guy just by showing him a cat. Pretty cool. Sorry to anybody out there who is a vehement dog lover and a cat hater. Let's just all agree that Spot saved the day. I think I'm going to lay it on Spot. I'm laying this one on Spot. If not for Lore/Data, we wouldn't have been able to win, and Lore wouldn't have been able, or I should say Data would not have been able to quote-unquote beat Lore had it not been for the cat. So really, this episode is the cat's victory. So really, they should rename the ship to the U.S.S. Spot, because Spot saved the ship. And we need to make Spot the honorary captain, and get Spot a little engraving of Spot on the dedication plaque on the bridge. Is that too much to ask, guys? I don't think so. But Data comes out winning, or did Lore win but take on so much of Data that they've become quote-unquote Data Lore? Who knows? But from now on, I'm just going to keep it simple and refer to him as Data. You see, Data has taken back the ship. Vadic is essentially defeated. But their plan, wink wink, is we're going to send Jack to the bridge with this bizarre anomalous device that I'm willing to buy. I'm willing to buy the fact that Jack has access to that. You know, Jack is kind of like, he's kind of like this lone wolf. He survives on his own. He flies by the seat of his pants. I can imagine he would have this device. He had that device to disable the force field on the brig. Why wouldn't he have this little grenade thing? We don't know what it is. Neither does ship computers. Neither does Vadic. We don't know what it is. So he takes us to the bridge. Listen, you're going to tell me what I want to know, or I'm going to blow this up and kill myself. I know you want me. And I know that I want to know what's going on in my head. So you're going to open this gosh dang mystery box right now, or I'm going to kill myself. My thoughts exactly, Jack. That's what I wanted to do. I had a metaphorical grenade in my mind ready to blow if you didn't tell me what was going on with the plot of this freaking season. Vadic, just tell me. I'm done with you waxing poetic. Waxing poetic and burying the point of any conversation. That was fine episodes ago, but we're on episode 8 now. It's starting to get a little bit silly. This is the exact moment where Vadic was teetering on the edge of insanity. Teetering on the edge. You could see rocks tumbling off the edge, going down to the abyss, making no noise because the hole down there was so low, there was no echo. The echo that you would listen to indicate, oh, jumping the shark. We were going to do it. Jack, you're up. Their plan all along was to activate this handheld grenade thing, which was actually a stasis field device. It was a stasis field / shield generator that would envelop anybody inside a certain radius. He does it. Data has control of the ship, and I kid you not, they vent the bridge. The bridge module is designed to flip open the front section and immediately evacuate everything in the bridge to space. This is real. This is something that Starfleet designed and put into the Titan. What would be the point of that other than for this one scene? You know? I was hoping that when Shaw brought up the idea of blowing the turbolift, what he meant was blowing the blast cap on top of it and venting the turbolift to space. Maybe a little bit more believable. I was hoping that somehow Jack would coax Vedic into the turbolift with him. And then they would blow the turbolift. And then while Jack was in the vacuum of space, activate that ball. And he would stay put. It had like an inertial dampener. And then Data, controlling the ship, would grab it with the tractor beam and then force him back down to the turbolift. And then open the door, force open the door to the bridge. And then pull Jack through against the vacuum. That would have been really cool. But they didn't do that. Instead, they evacuated the entire bridge. What in the world? I mean, mark another one on the list for completely insane things that happened in the last 3 episodes that just don't make any sense. The first 4 or 5 episodes of this show, this season, seem to make perfect sense. And then past episode 5, we start to rely on contrivances and luck, which is a little bit spooky. Like, we relied on just luck that Vadic would take a shuttle over. We relied on luck that Mura would just happen to be beside that console. We relied on luck that Vadic wouldn't know when you put that code in, or codex. You see what I mean? It's getting a little bit contrived. That's really the broad strokes of this episode. It doesn't sound like much happened. And I should say that not much really did. We wanted questions answered. It seemed like we were going to answer them. At the very end of last episode, it seemed like we were just on the cusp of figuring out what was going on with Jack. But we managed to waste the audience's time with another episode where we didn't know. We didn't answer the question. And what's worse is we killed Vadic. And then, fire! 7 gives the order to destroy the Shrike. We destroy the Shrike! Even though we literally know there's basically no one on the Shrike. I'll explain why in a moment, but we destroyed the Shrike. A ship by all measurements should be easily able to outgun the Titan. Is the portal weapon still on board? Am I dreaming? Did we just destroy that device? Man, we need all the help we can get to defeat these changelings. Take the Shrike. Why did we destroy it? I don't like any ship being destroyed. I love ships. I don't even like bad ships being destroyed. There's no such thing as a bad ship, right? The ship didn't do anything. The Shrike isn't evil. Take the Shrike. Come on. And it was so unceremonious. It was dead in the water. It had no way to defend itself. And we just blew it up. And I was supposed to enjoy that. I don't know. I did not enjoy that. It would have been... Imagine how cool it would be if 7 said, blow the ship up, destroy that ship, fire on the Shrike. And Liam said, wait a minute, no. Let's save the Shrike. Let's use it. Cool. A different way to, subvert your expectations in a good way. That would have been really interesting. But we didn't, and we destroyed a priceless vessel. Very powerful. Almost destroyed our own ship. So we know it's stronger than us. Whatever. Let's just scuttle it. Who cares? I don't know. Let's just kill it. It's cool to see things blow up. Let's just destroy the Shrike. Whatever. Speaking of Liam and 7, I thought we squashed that whole naming debacle in the Wright Nebula, remember? How did you know that was a changeling? Oh, well, Sydney always calls me 7 out of respect. Good call. A great way to end that little arc. Satisfying, fun, poignant, memorable, but we're still bringing it back. 7 is still vehemently calling herself 7. My name isn't Hanson, it's 7. To Liam in this episode when we're all about to die. I just don't know where this is coming from. We already solved this. Just call her 7. People had nicknames forever. Bones. It took me 1 second to think of that. I didn't have that pre-prepared. I got it in my mind in a split second that you used to call McCoy Bones. It's fine. Bones, what's wrong with that? But I guess after this we're going to have to legally change her name to 7 in order to get Liam to accept it. I don't understand where this is coming from. It's past the point of making sense. It's past the point of just disagreement. Because I thought we already solved this. Speaking of things that we solved in the writing system, let's move over to our B plot. Guess what else we did with our prisoners that was dumb? We put Riker and Troy together in confinement on the Shrike. We put them together. Why would you do that? Oh, I know why we did it. We did it so that Riker and Troy could reiterate a past argument that I thought we already defeated. We have an argument about their son and how you took away my emotion to help me deal with it, and you shortcutted the grand arc of therapy by taking away the pain, share your pain, instead of helping me deal with it to get over it, to defeat it. You just took it away, and you took away the feeling of my son being lost, and blah, blah, blah. I thought we solved that in that little conversation we had when Riker was getting out of the writing system. You know? We kind of patched things up with Troy, I thought, but we're kind of just retreading it. I don't know. I mean, the acting is on point. The emotion is there. The scene is not bad. It's just that I thought it would have been more pertinent at this point in time for the conversation to be between Troy and Riker to be a little bit more on point, a little bit more constructive. Like, how do we get out of here? I wanted a little bit more, a little bit more scheming from Troy and Riker. We left our prisoners confined together. What are they going to do? We're going to come up with ideas. We're not going to fight about our relationship problems. I mean, maybe it worked for you, but for me it was a little bit strange. Similar to the Data fighting with himself scene. Hokey. Both scenes, hokey. The Data scene for me worked. This one kind of didn't. Your mileage may vary, as I want to say. But Troy manages to get in, these kind of old married couple digs at Riker. Riker gets a few digs at her. But the point of the matter is, Troy says, listen, a changeling came to Nepenthe, or wherever I was living, I can't remember. Was he charming? Oh, good in bed, bad at pizza. Troy, what did you do? Troy, what? Did you feel violated at all? Remember, like in Nemesis, how you felt violated? Remember that? Did you feel that now? Troy, did you just sleep with the changeling? Are you okay? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Troy, I hope that's a joke. I'm saying to her, not Riker. Troy, I hope you're joking. At this moment in time, I hope you're just making that up. Good in bed, bad at pizza, like burning that tomato that Riker did in season 1. That stupid line, that stupid episode, Nepenthe, where Riker, burnt tomato. That's what happened with the pizza. I burnt the tomato. I wish it never happened. That insane burnt tomato line has been living rent-free in my mind for years now. I just keep seeing in my mind burnt tomato. I just hate it. I hate any reference to it. I do not need any reference to season 1 or season 2. I don't need it anymore. I'm done with that. But I guess Changeling Riker wasn't good at pizza, but he was good in bed. He was fully functional. I guess we have a routine checkup from one of these quote-unquote changelings that ends up getting absolutely destroyed by Riker. We hear the cool Klingon/Worf theme. And Worf just kind of ends the life of this changeling guy. Oh, Troy, Worf, come here. Oh, hugs time. Oh, I've counted the days since I saw you. And then Worf just continues to just serenade Troy like he's swinging in off a chandelier, and Riker's standing right there. Okay, guys, that's enough. Like, Troy was sleeping with changelings, and it looks like she's about to sleep with you. Okay, I think the torture is over for now. Okay, guys, let's just break it up. Which is exactly what I was thinking. For those who don't know, Troy had a one-off fling with Worf at the absolute last second of TNG, and I don't want to go into how it all happened, but I was ready to leave it behind. Troy and Worf have seen each other since then, but a lot of this new Trek just is kind of assuming that the only thing that existed was TNG, maybe the movies, and now with this season, Deep Space Nine exists when we need it to. But what we needed from TNG, I guess, was that bizarre, out of nowhere, last minute of relationship between Worf and Troy at the absolute last breath of TNG, just like Rollaren. We're mining things from the last possible minute of TNG, but not Tashier. We have that hologram. Break it up, guys. We're good. We don't need any more Troy and Worf weirdness. We're good. And what about Dax? Remember Dax from Deep Space Nine? No spoilers, but I don't think Worf should need any spoilers on that, because he should remember Dax. Maybe I should cut that out. Should I cut that out? Is that a Deep Space Nine spoiler? I don't know. I'll leave it in. Go watch Deep Space Nine. That's how our characters get off the Shrike, essentially. The Shrike is... They basically have the run of the place. I guess I'm left to assume there's nobody left on the Shrike. I guess I'm left to assume that Vadic had, 5 crewmen with her on the Shrike. That enormous ship. I don't think so. But we do get a look at Picard's body. We're finding out what Vadic's crew / the Changelings wanted with Picard's body. Guess what? They scooped out the parts of his brain that were afflicted with Irumodic syndrome, confirming once and for all that our Changelings want to get that Irumodic syndrome. They need it bad. Raffi and Worf, Riker and Troy. Hi, I'm Raffi. I'm Troy. Strange days, huh? Yeah. Perfect introduction scene between Raffi and Troy, who haven't met each other yet. Done. Don't need any more. They just do the one-word introduction with each other. We're getting the data off this computer. We're getting the heck out of here. We're destroying the Shrike. And I think we're also maybe destroying Picard's old body with the Shrike. I didn't see them take the body off the Shrike. I think that belongs to Picard. I think you should give that back to him. That's kind of it's kind of his. It's kind of his own little heirloom. Oh well, it's just a shell. I don't care what you do with the body. Basically is what Worf is saying, which is, par for the course for a Klingon. They don't really care about the body after it's, quote unquote dead. But methinks they should have brought the body back with them, on that mysterious cloaked shuttle they were flying around in. Blink and you'll miss it. There was a cloaked shuttle you could see from its distortion flying around earlier to let you know that Worf and Raffi were on the case, as it were. Where did it come from? It wasn't the La Serena. Where's the La Serena? Can we not afford to fly the La Serena this season? I don't particularly love the La Serena, but we've seen it parked 3 episodes in a row, and then never again. And then somehow Worf and Raffi get to the Titan. We don't see how. We don't see where the La Serena is. And now they just showed up out of nowhere, out of Exoport, I assume. In the dialogue in the past episode, they show up in a cloaked shuttle. Man. Should we have had 11 episodes this season? Or is the next episode, episode 9, going to take place from the Worf and Raffi point of view entirely? So we can see what happened there? Explanation needed. I feel like I'm missing 20% of this episode. I'm missing what happened with Worf and Raffi. I need the rest of that. It gets its point across, but if you're the type of person who likes to delve down, if you're the type of person who likes to dig below the top layer, this episode might not be for you. It gets the major points across, but the finer details are lacking in definition. Still a good episode, though. We ended off someplace where we weren't at the beginning. That's very good. The plot moved forward, but we didn't answer any of our questions. The burning questions we have. Who was Jack Crusher really? We still don't know. We should have known, and we killed Vadic, the one person who could have told us, aside from Troy perhaps. And we killed the one ship that we knew we had full access to and could have helped us, the Shrike. So we're kind of killing our own leads here, so to speak. The episode ends off with a wonderful scene between Geordi and Data. Oh, just beautiful. Data, in the truest sense of Star Trek, has superseded his built-in boundaries. He's superseded, for us, biology. For the intent of his creator. He has now become fully a person. I want to say human, but I can't. He's essentially as human as Picard now. Is Picard a human? He certainly feels like it. If you consider Picard a human, then Data must be. I think that's probably going to be a debate coming up in the next few episodes, just how human is Data. Data now uses contractions. He did a few times before accidentally. Don't worry about it. But Data is not supposed to be able to use contractions. He's, instead of saying don't, he's supposed to say do not. Now he does. He's a complete person now. See, he's lore and Data. He's good and bad. He has to make the choice, which gives him ethics, which makes him a person. You see, he is now bound by morals that could not be programmed in a discrete sense. He is unbound from discrete programming. If you know what that really means, he is Data lore. Data, you just used a contraction. No, I didn't. He tells an actually funny joke, right? And that's when I knew that this was beyond Data. This is Data 2. Just incredible. You know, he's reunited with his real friend, not Picard. Season 1 kind of tried to muscle in on the Data and Geordi relationship by shoving the third wheel of Picard in there because they didn't want to bring back all those other actors, probably because they didn't want to pay them, just being honest. But now Geordi and Data are back. Friends again, friends for life, BFF forever. We're all one big happy family. And when all of our TNG characters subconsciously just meet in the boardroom together, just like it was second nature, like it was muscle memory. Funny how that works out. We all have our own little conversations with each other. Oh, Beverly, often in my mind I talk to you and you help me with stuff. What? You, thanks, I guess. You talk to me in your mind. That's pretty cool. And then Worf is like, I often debated whether or not to send you the heads of my enemies, but I was told that would be passive-aggressive. Man, everyone, what can I say? Everyone's on point. Everyone is the character they're supposed to be again. You know, we spent so long with these characters just being freaking aliens, and now they're back being who they're supposed to be, you know, with regards to Picard especially. How can I complain? It's a little bit hokey. It's a little bit silly. You know, it's a little bit like a cartoon. But I'll be damned if I wasn't having fun. And we have the beautiful shot of the Titan. The flyby Titan. The motion picture shot. Where we see it from the underside going this way. And it's playing the Enterprise music. Oh my god. I'm only human. Okay? Forgive me for enjoying that shot that was completely stolen from something else. I know, I'm only human. I'm sorry, I loved it. But, our cliffhanger, because this is modern Trek and we need constant cliffhangers, so we can't just wrap it up at the end. Our cliffhanger is that Troy is about to go into what seems to be a mind meld with Jack. I'm willing to buy Troy can do that. She was only half Beta Z, I believe. So her psychic powers are limited. However, I don't know what has happened between now and then. Maybe Troy can really walk into someone's mind now. Things like that have happened before in special cases. But now Jack is taking Troy into a mind space that not even he understands. So it's a little bit of a leap. But I'm willing to buy it. We're going into Jack's mind, and we're finally going to find out what's behind that quote-unquote red door. The red door that Vadic knew about. Vadic knew about the red door, and now Vadic is dead. And so it's a Shrike. How can I go from loving this episode to hating it in the span of 5 seconds? I don't know. But that's what this episode is. It's hot and cold. It's just like really high highs and low lows. So you would expect this would even out to a 5. Stay tuned. Because I haven't gone over my key details of this episode. As you know, every Star Trek episode relies on different pillars. You know, you have the plot pillar, the theme pillar, the music pillar, and the visual pillar. That's 4 pillars. That holds up a roof. Safely. Plot. Good, technically. We have moved forward. We killed Vadic, we killed the Shrike, and we're home scot-free, essentially, until we can find out how to beat the Changelings. We've ended the Daystrom arc, and that's always fun when we end things without too many loose ends. We end things and we know where we're going next. It's okay to get excited. We know what we're doing next. We're fighting the changelings. We're going to find out who that face guy is. And we're going to tell you who Jack is. 2 episodes left. Let's go. I'm happy with the plot. Music-wise, you have the Klingon theme. You got the Enterprise motion picture theme. And so many other little minute musical inventions. So many original pieces. I'm starting to get a feel for the original Titan theme. Maybe you're seeing it creep up. So cool. The music hits at the right moments. It hits at the right moments during conversations. It hits when you least expect it. It hits when you should be there. It's wonderful. And they didn't try to bait and switch me like they did with the Voyager theme and Changeling Tuvok. We still need to see real Tuvok, by the way, the next 2 episodes. Theme-wise, it's a little bit more complicated. You'll notice that Data wins over Lore by giving him his memories. And Vedic takes Jack's memories with her. Jack wants his memories. He doesn't have them. He doesn't know the truth about who he is. Vedic had that and failed to give over that information. So what we have here is the theme of somebody else holding your memories, holding your past, your truth, and being incomplete without them. In a way, Jack is incomplete without Vedic. And now, Lore is complete with Data. So, yes, this theme is reiterated from, I would say, Prodigy, without going into too much of a Prodigy, but your memories make you whole. Your memories are the true measurement of the worth of your life. And for Jack, they're not here yet, and for Lore, they finally arrived. That's how when you can bridge a thematic question between multiple plot lines in the same episode, that's when you're getting a feel for what the episode is truly about. You don't know it, possibly on the surface, but subconsciously, your brain kind of understands it. And that's what makes an episode memorable. It's what makes it important. It's what makes it meaningful, is these little thematic strings, you see, when plots rhyme with each other in a thematic way. Also, you'll note, speaking of rhyming, with an episode that was many weeks ago, Shaw told us his backstory, the U.S.S. Constance, Battle of Wolf 359. A higher-up officer said, you, get in the shuttle, or escape pods, whichever it was, randomly deciding who was going to survive when the ship was being destroyed. It happened to work out that Shaw survived. Survivor's guilt. Did you notice that happened again this episode, but inverted? Shaw was on the bridge. Vadic had the characters lined up. Who was she going to kill? She was randomly picking who was not going to survive, instead of randomly picking who was going to survive. And the two are inversions of one another. They're not that different. Right? If you think about it. At the end, what we're doing is making conscious choices randomly about who's going to live. Shaw lived again. He survived the Constance. It felt random. He survived it this time, the random selection of death. Hopefully now, he would have survived with purpose. Okay? Hopefully now, if Tavine's death is not in vain, he will be able to reflect differently on his own past on the U.S.S. Constance. Just something I noticed. Visually, I mean, it's hard to beat the episode The Bounty. It's going to be really hard to beat that for any episode ever in the future of Star Trek. But this episode, I mean, we saw the Shrike, we saw the Titan. It's almost a bottle episode, whereas it takes place entirely on like 1, maybe 2 ships. We didn't get to see the cloaking shuttle. We didn't get to see the shuttle from the outside close up. That would have been cool. We didn't get the La Serena where we should have obviously had it. We got to see Vadic freeze solid in space and then smash against the hull of the Shrike. I'm grasping at strings here. What I'm trying to say is that visually, this episode isn't that wonderful. It left a little bit to be desired. On the topic of Vadic's freezing in space, many would say, "Oh, you don't immediately freeze in space. It's not that it's cold; it's that it's a vacuum, and you boil, and then you slowly freeze, and then shrivel up into nothing." Well, We also don't know what happens to these changelings. Maybe they do freeze in space. I don't know. Maybe they turn solid and smash. It seems to me like her death is final. There's a finality to it when you smash a changeling. If you know how changelings died before. Although it used to be a lot harder to kill them. These changelings are different. They're not the changelings we knew. I don't know what happens to them in space. I knew that the old changelings could survive space, but I guess Vedic can't. Like I said, this evolved physiology ain't so evolved after all, is it? That's going to be a major sticking point for this entire season, is what was up with the changelings. I just kind of ended this episode's review, kind of how it started, with questions about the changelings. I wrapped it up. That's how you wrap up a story. This review has a narrative. That's right, I'll take my like now. This episode, all things considered, I was going to give it a 5, but on rewatches I started to like it more. I'm going to have to give it a 5.5. I may not come back to it, but it's not bad. It's better than even. It works out. There's bad bads and good goods. And that's about all I can say. Next episode, what's going to happen? Let's sneak in a little bit of speculation here into the end of this review. I still think we're going to kill Riker. It seems like it makes dramatic sense. I still think it might be Power Wraiths, if you know Deep Space Nine. The face guy, that might be a Power Wraith. He might be manipulating the changelings in order to get at Jack, because he needs Jack's abilities to kill the wormhole aliens from Deep Space Nine. I hope that's not what it is, because we've got 2 episodes left to explain that, and there ain't no way the average audience viewer is going to know all those concepts that are right at the last minute of Deep Space Nine. They're not going to know, so it better not be Power Wraiths. But other than that, what could it be? Who is the face? We haven't seen him in a while. You know that guy. The person that comes out of Vedic's hand. Who knows? Project Phoenix. What was up with that? We saw James T. Kirk's body for a moment on a view screen a few episodes ago. What was that about? Does Data know any more about what the changelings want? What do the changelings want at Frontier Day? What are they going to do? Why do they need Picard to be there? Why do they need to control the Irumodic syndrome? Who is Jack? Is Jack connected to Project Phoenix? Is Jack a clone of James T. Kirk? There's an insane idea for you. By the way, an interesting thought experiment for you, for those who have watched this review until now. At the end of this episode, you see all of our TNG characters around the table in the boardroom. Picard, Troy, Riker, Worf, Data, Geordi. You know, the whole gang. Beverly. I don't know if I probably said one of those twice. I don't know. Just for fun. At that table, who do you think is a changeling? Could there still be changelings on the Titan? Is one of those characters a changeling? Who could it be? What if it's Riker? What if it's Troy? I don't know. What? Imagine how insane it would be if Picard was a changeling. Even he didn't know. I don't know. I guess I'm a changeling. I'm the new type of changeling. They changed me and then brainwashed me, and I didn't even know. Oh well. I'm Lieutenant Merrick, and I'm not a changeling, trust me. And I'm going to see you when next I see you. Goodbye.